Hello students, good morning. Student, today we read about memory. As we know that psychology is the study of human behavior and mental process. So when we study about the mental process, in these in the mental process comes memory, learning, cognitions, problem solving. So all these things are the part of mental process. So memory is one of them, mental process. So when we learn about memory, we should examine the basic example of memory as we have seen our general life that sometimes we remember the information for few seconds, sometimes for few hours, sometimes for whole of our lives. So what is this process? Basically today we are going to explore this process of memory according to psychology. So memory is basically recall of past experience, whatever has happened in our past life. Basically we recall all these things in our mind, so that is memory. And it includes the retention of those information for some specific point of time. If it is short term memory, then we will retain that information for some seconds to some minutes. And if the information is for long term memory, then we will keep that information for days or for years. There are three stages of memory when this process occur. There are three stages. First is encoding. Encoding is basically registration of memory in which we know that a lot of information are available in our environment, and these are known as sensations, or you can say sensory information. And we generally recognize the information which is relevant to us, and that occurs by the process of sensations. So in the first stage of sensation, we generally retain the information which is relevant to us, and that is the way we imbibe the information is known as encoding, or you can say registration. The relevant information is taken by our senses. Then comes the storage. Storage basically when we have recognized that the particular information is relevant to us, then we are going to store that information in our mental capacity. Then comes the retrieval. Retrieval is basically the recall of that information, or you can say recognitions. Recall means we pronounce, or we verbally pronounce the same information which we have learned in past. And recognition, just we recognize the information which is written somewhere else, or just by seeing that information. So these are the three stages of memory process: encoding, storage, and retrieval. Retrieval has two parts: recall and recognitions. So then comes the types of memory. So generally we classify memory in two parts: short-term memory and long-term memory. In layman language, you can say there are two types of memory: long-term and short-term. But when we study the memory in detail, we classify it in many parts. That is sensory memory, short-term memory, long-term memory, and then declarative memory, episodic memory, semantic memory, flashback memory, iconic, echoic, and many more. So these are the classifications which were given by many psychologists. So first of all, there is sensory memory. Sensory memory is for the information which are, as we know that a lot of information are available in our environments. So the information which we retrieve, which we take in for only for some points of seconds, you can say in milliseconds, that information is sensory memory. You can say the capacity of this memory is 200 to 500 milliseconds, and if we focused on that memory only for this time of this span of durations. Then come the short-term memory. Short-term memory is also known as working memory, and it has two parts: iconic memory and echoic memory. The span of short-term memory is 30 seconds, and the capacity is 7 plus or minus 2 digits, that was given by Miller. Miller was a psychologist who worked on the memory, and he gauged the capacity of short-term memory, and by his experiment he found that the capacity of human beings to store this memory is only for 7 plus minus 2 digits. And we can increase this memory by the process of chunking. Chunking is a method in which we can increase the short-term memory capacity. There are two parts of short-term memory. One is iconic memory and another is echoic memory. Iconic memory is only for the images which we observe or which we see in our environment, and we keep those images in our memory system only for few seconds or few up to 30 seconds. Iconic memory. Echoic memory is about the audio cues which are available in our environment. Audio cues, or you can say audio information in audio forms. So that is echoic memories. Next comes the long-term memory. Long-term memory is of two types: explicit or implicit. Explicit long-term memory. First of all, before going to about the part of long-term memory, I would like to explain the some span of long-term memory. Long-term memory is for throughout years or for hours or for 1 day, for 2 days. It can be from day to years, and we can retrieve this information at any point of times, or when there are some cues available for it, we can retrieve that information. And it is you can say the capacity of long term memory is comparably low than to the short term memory, because we have to retain this information for long duration. And the other parts of long term memory are declarative memory, episodic memory. Episodic memory is related to our emotion systems. When something happened to us in our general day-to-day life, and that affect our emotion, we keep this information for long point of times. So we can say that that type of information we can retrieve throughout our life, and that is permanent in nature, because that is related to our emotion systems. And the flash bulb memory is almost same as like episodic memory, because both are emotional in nature, and both are related to our emotions, and both are for throughout our lives. Next comes the semantic memory. Semantic memory is all about our semantic knowledge, that is verbal knowledge, and about the facts and the history of our history of any informations. And so it was all about this type of memory. So basically we classify the memory in two groups: short term memory and long term memory. But when we go in detail, we can classify this in memory in sensory memory, short term memory, long term memory, and the iconic, echoic, declarative, episodic, semantic, and flash bulb memories. That's all.